Hello and welcome back to the Franchise Growth Pod. My name is Belle, Director of Marketing at AC Inc. And today I am joined by one of our incredible growth advisors, Brecon. How's it going, Brecon?
It's going really well, Belle. Thanks so much for having me back.
Oh, of course. I absolutely love our chats. And today I am actually doing zero intro because Brecken behind the scenes and I have been chatting already. So we are actually going to dive directly into our topic today. So you're welcome, everyone. You don't have to hear us chit chat. Or maybe people like the chit chatting. I guess I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to do
I
a
don't know.
poll.
I'm guessing not. For not when I'm the guest. Maybe when JB's the guest, they're like, "This is awesome." But
Yeah, well, she'll talk about her cottage and her
exactly. Yeah.
travels and her new tattoos. Oh my gosh, so many fun things. Well, today we are diving directly into a topic that it seems suspicious that we can make this topic exciting, Brecken. But Brecken brought this to me because Brecken works as a field coach and helps actually implement field coaching and do coaching for franchisees. So you are a pro at making numbers and KPIs and metrics actually fun and exciting. I am so excited.
Yeah. Yeah. Essentially, just like spoil everybody. The nerd is here.
The nerd has arrived, and we're diving in to talking about KPIs. And somehow
Uh,
Brecken is going to convince us by the end that you, even you, can get your franchisees excited about their numbers and KPIs. We're going to see if that is true.
You're throwing down the gauntlet, eh? All right. Yeah.
No, actually, I can't think of a better person to talk about this. If people don't know already, the AC Inc. team is literally obsessed with numbers and data and metrics and benchmarks and all the things. We are probably a little too all about it. There's not no such thing as being too all about it, but we do love talking about it. We're constantly looking at what else we can measure and better ways to measure it and how to, jot it down to, measure the results for next time. All these things. Our spreadsheets are insane. So I am actually very excited because I know you are one of the team spreadsheet, team KPIs.
I am. I am definitely a team analysis guy. Yes.
Analysis for sure. I actually want to start off the chat about KPIs today. We will get into talking about how to actually get franchisees excited, get your system excited about looking at KPIs, which again, we'll see how that goes. But I want to start off with just talking a little bit about KPIs and numbers in general. And
Mm.
we talk a lot as a company, as a culture, about how foundational it is, and we've talked about this a lot, especially over the past couple of years. We're growing and really scaling a lot, and part of that is getting so clear on your numbers, and that's numbers for us, numbers for our clients, right? Improving our spreadsheet constantly. It feels like. I want to ask you, in your words, the foundational kind of aspect of KPIs and numbers, like why is that kind of I mean, I don't even know how to say it differently. Why is it really the foundation of business and business growth and development and all those pieces?
I why is it foundational? I would say honestly, Bell, because numbers, if measured accurately and you know the data itself is correct,
Yeah.
numbers don't lie,
Mm.
right? And there's no emotion in it. They're just facts, and it takes out all the feeling. I'm not trying to take emotion out of business. We're still dealing with people for
Oh,
sure.
of course,
But
yeah.
like when you measure performance and you need to have accurate data so you can see how you're doing. Like we always say, if you don't measure it, you can't improve it,
Mm.
right? Like I don't know how many times I've said that to clients over the years, but it's it actually should be like one of my tattoos or
We
something.
should get it on a t-shirt for you.
Yeah, or, yeah, that and Kaizen, right? Continuous improvement. It's two things I say all the time. But if you're not measuring performance, you can't identify areas for improvement. And basically, what happens is you're going on gut feel without KPIs.
Yeah.
And without metrics, you are going on how you feel the business is doing. And no matter how tied into the business you are, you do not know the numbers as well as you should. I've never known anybody who does without actual data.
Yeah.
I met with a client last week who was adamant that they knew what their average ticket sale was,
Mm.
right? Their average dollar value. And let's just say in their situation, their average ticket sale was $1,000.
Yeah, yeah.
But they were convinced it was 1,500. But
Mm.
when we look at the actual numbers, it's 1,000. And
Interesting.
so now, like it's 33% smaller,
Yeah.
right? And when you get into goal setting and you're trying to figure out how many sales do I need to do to break even or to make X dollars, your entire plan is flawed.
Yeah, yeah,
Because you don't have the foundational numbers in place.
yeah.
So in terms of goal setting and strategic growth coaching and everything, you have to have accurate KPIs.
Mm.
It is the prerequisite in order to improve your business.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to just I even to further say what you were just describing, the foundational element is because we're not running a hobby, right? You're running a business. You want to, raise your family and support your um oh, you have something to say? Sorry,
I
Brian.
know, no, you're 100% right. But like again, with KPIs, especially in franchising,
Mm.
one of the biggest advantages of franchising is we have all this data from all these different locations, whether it's, you've got 10 locations, 30, 80, whatever, 850. When we're able to get that data, we're able to monitor performance across locations. We can set benchmarks. We can determine who's got the best labor percentage. How are they doing that? Let's share that best practice across the whole system. And that is how the power of franchising comes from the team and the collaboration of all these franchises and the branding and the
Yeah,
consistency and all that stuff. But when we have that kind of data over a single entity, small business, the advantages we have are tremendous in terms
totally.
of identifying how to improve and where we're struggling,
Mm.
that a single business simply doesn't have.
Yeah, and you don't have to test everything yourself, and yeah, the analyzing what someone else is doing and why their numbers might look different. And yeah, you're so right. It's foundational not just to business, but to franchising specifically. There's so
Yeah.
much power that you miss out if you and just to be clear, we're not just talking about businesses starting out who don't have their KPIs all set. We're actually even talking about huge 100 unit businesses. We talk to them all the time where they're looking at numbers and going, is this true? Is this right? Do we need to reanalyze this? Like some of these don't look correct, or people aren't reporting it properly, or weren't given proper training, all those things. So it applies to any stage of a franchise for sure.
It does. I just worked with a much larger brand this week, and their KPIs are an absolute mess. And we got to go back to the drawing board and figure out how we're going to get back to proper training from day one so that the
Yeah.
franchisees are on board and understand how to implement the data.
And I don't know if you feel this too. And I feel like this comes, so my next question was actually about like pushback or common kind of challenges you hear about KPIs. We'll just touch on it really briefly. But like one thing I think a lot of people feel is like, for some reason, if your numbers are not working or your KPIs don't look solid or there's something wrong with them, I feel like there's a lot of shame more than something like, we don't have the right person in the right role for this right now, or some of our operations are a bit all over the place. For some reason, numbers come with a lot more personal feelings connected to them. And that can be, I mean, maybe it's the secret to unlocking it all, but I feel like that can be often a pushback that people feel is just like, oh, I don't know if anyone should be looking at my numbers, or I feel bad that they're not done better. Like, do you often feel that that's part of the challenge or pushback you get?
Yeah, I do hear that from franchisees specifically within different systems, right? Like, and part of that I think, Belle, is one, there's a fear because they don't understand
Yeah.
how to track or why it's important or what's in it. And we'll get to that point in a minute, what's in it for me piece. And then there is a pride thing, right? We're always, these are business owners and they want to be doing well and they want to be respected by their peers. And if they come in and we're all measuring KPIs and I'm in the bottom 10% of profit or
Mm.
sales or whatever, I feel shame. I do. So there are ways around that where we don't identify who's where and people can only see their own results and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it there is a piece of that. And that's one of the reasons why it is so important that you do get buy-in and why we make KPIs exciting and fun for business owners or franchisee owners, because we need them to be tracking it so that we can help the entire system get better, including them. But overcoming those fears and that fear of change, or you know what, I was never good with numbers. It's why I
Yeah.
went with a franchise system. Like I've heard that a million times too.
Yeah.
No worries, we're going to teach you. But that
Totally.
fear, it's fear of what I'm not good at is a
Yes.
very normal thing. So,
So normal with everything. So that actually leads us perfectly into, wow, it's almost like these questions were like really, really artfully put together.
oh
Like,
my gosh, who could have thought of something like
who
that?
put together these questions? No, that's perfectly going to get us into creating that excitement and that buy-in, that engagement with numbers. And you kind of even talked about it a little bit already. But let's dive directly into it and just get really clear. How are we creating that excitement? How are we creating that interest even in these numbers?
Well, for the franchisor, I think it's actually pretty easy. Most franchisors want to understand, and most of them have a
Oh, for sure.
yeah, are pretty comfortable with this piece. So it's for them, it's obviously identifying areas for improvement across the system, at best practices sharing and increasing network profitability and all those things. When it comes to taking it out to our franchisees,
Yeah.
I think what I've seen, some of the challenges that often happen is we jump in right into the deep end, like everybody into the pool,
Yeah.
and there's no life jackets, and half the people don't know how to swim, and so we get some data entry and some not doing it, and now the data is inaccurate, and so one is, and depending on the size of your system, right, you do need to roll it out slowly, and maybe you do it in small sample sizes and with your A performers, right? We get our top people who want to get better, and we start there, but we don't unroll like 10 KPIs.
Yeah.
Let's start with 2 or 3, and
Mm,
let's make sure everyone's on board. And we need to clearly articulate to the franchisees why it's beneficial for them,
mm,
like the what's in it for me piece. And as they start to, and if you're doing it with your A performers, they're almost always gung ho for learning, right?
yeah.
So they're excited, they're learning more, and they are becoming more in control of their business. They are
Mm,
becoming business owners instead of people who operate a business.
yeah.
And that to them is usually very self fulfilling, very exciting. They feel so much more in control. They understand what's happening and why the changes. And then they understand their areas for improvement, and they can impact it and
Mm,
improve it. And you can create plans with them on how to improve this area of weakness. And you start getting buy in, and they start buying the nerd ideas that numbers are important. And it is so empowering watching your franchisee suddenly the light goes off and they're like, oh my gosh, I thought I was doing this. I'm actually not. This is how I'm going to fix it. This is going to change my bottom line, which is going to impact my children's lives and my wife or husband's lives and my family. And oh my gosh. And now you've got buy-in from a small sample size of franchisees who are successful and are starting to improve. And everybody else in the system sees that. And now they're like, how do I get some of that Kool-Aid?
mm.
And it is so cool to see. And yes, I am a nerd. I get so excited. I'm already getting excited just thinking about this. But yeah, watching them realize that they are becoming business owners instead of managing operators
Yeah.
it's super empowering.
That's so huge. And I think so the ownership is a huge part. And I think you're totally right. I think getting that buy-in on those top performers or the people who are excited about it, because it could even be some middle performers or
Yep.
what have you who get
It's
really
people who want to
excited,
learn.
right? Yeah. So you get the eager learners, which is
Yeah.
great. And then, of course, like with anything, when you get buy-in with part of the system and you see results, so much easier to get buy-in from the rest of the system for sure. But I also think, so you mentioned a couple things, and I just want to get clear on here's how we're creating excitement. So some kind of tangibles. So the talking about ownership. So
Mm.
these are skills that are going to make you more of an owner, more of a leader in charge of creating more impact with your business, getting to make more decisions that actually impact your bottom line, all those types of pieces. So tying these KPIs, scorecards, and again, even if you have them in place, like you work with these large brands that have these in place already, but it's the mindset around them and how people are using them and how effectively they're being filled out, and all of those things
Yep.
are what we can improve. So I think it applies to again any stage of growth here, but so it's the ownership piece, the confidence, right? So the knowing, so being, it's fine if you don't understand them right now. That's totally fine. We're going to literally teach you exactly what each one means and how you can impact it and all those things. And again, starting small. So the starting small, the ownership, the becoming more of a leader or creating more of an impact. So all of that I think can tie into a lot of that, creating excitement, creating the buy-in and engagement. The thing though that you said that I want to make sure people get, because I think if people aren't mentioning this in those calls, they're missing out on where the excitement can really come from, which is, so Brecon phrased it as having the owner connect it back to something else in their life. So you mentioned, impacting your children's lives or having, you and your partner get to do something fun and exciting. But connecting things like numbers back to a not number related thing, I think is kind of, it was what you were saying, but that I think is a conversation that has so much power in getting people actually excited. As soon as you realize, and you talked about the being able to see a change. So, okay, my average ticket price is this. So if I get, 6 tickets instead of 4, I can bring up my average income by this much. And wow, that's actually a holiday. perfect. If I can make 2 more sales, that's literally a trip for me and my family. Or this much into an investment account, which is going to mean I can retire at 55, and we can map that out with the numbers.
That's it. You have to understand what motivates your franchisees
Mm.
when you're teaching them this stuff, because there will be days where they're like, oh, this is pointless, or I'm frustrated, or I had a bad experience with a client and now I can't be bothered. Okay, remember our goals.
Yeah.
Remember our goals. Okay, we got this. Remember, we're taking that trip to Hawaii next year.
Yeah.
All right. You and your partner and the kids, and you guys are going to have the best time. To do that, we do need to increase or decrease our labor as a percentage of revenue by X percentage. This is the plan. We knew it was going to be hard. Remember, let's go through our action steps. Okay, dun, dun, dun. And we just need to lower it by 2%. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. But it is a means to an end. And once they understand that piece, it is so much easier to turn their mindset around when they've had a bad day, to keep them in the right space, and to keep them focused. And we chunk it down, right? We're not like, we got to increase sales by 86% this quarter. I mean, that's right. It's okay. What if we increase sales by 2% this quarter? Or what if we increase prices by 3%? How is that going to increase our KPI of revenue, et cetera? And now suddenly they start seeing the different impacts that improving certain numbers will have.
Yeah.
And then we pick the low. Okay, what is the easiest thing to fix with the least amount of effort that we can fix this quarter? Let's go get it.
Yeah.
Boom. Right. And we get some wins, and they start seeing the improvements. And now suddenly their paycheck coming home is, wow, I'm actually bringing a paycheck home.
Yeah.
Okay, instead of just constantly reinvesting in the business.
Totally.
So that is how we make numbers exciting. We make it about improving their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I don't know, even if someone came in and kind of knew maybe that was the direction we were going to head, because that is often a direction we head when we're talking about getting buy-in on anything, but it's how we all get buy-in. It's how everyone gets excited about anything, is you think about things you love, things you're passionate about. And that's what we get excited about. Like, I don't think it's a crazy way to put it.
No, and involve them in the process. Okay, guys, we're just going to figure out 3 KPIs, and we've taught what KPIs are. Which 3 do you think are the most important for your business? Which are the indicators that are most impactful here? And let's brainstorm this list together. Okay, we've got a list of 8. Let's pick 3.
Yeah.
Which 3 do we want to measure? Okay, and what benchmarks do we have? Oh, we don't have benchmarks. Okay, let's create benchmarks here. Let's do this. What are our goals? Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
And it's, again, now there's buying because it's all their ideas.
Totally. And it's the education and training. So not being, not feeling ashamed if you don't understand what a labor percentage of revenue is. Like, don't feel that's totally fine. We're going to train you on it, and then you will know. And then when we adjust the number a couple times to see what the next couple quarters could look like, you're going to go, whoa, that's going to impact my bottom line in this way, or impact my revenue. Like, that is so much power. So the training and education, the ongoing coaching on it, I think is so important. And you were mentioning that a couple times. The picking only a few to start, even as a big company or a much larger system, I think that is so key, because it gets everyone really understanding early on. Like, there are little things we can be tracking that are going to make this huge impact. And then connecting it, of course, back to things people actually are excited about, like holidays, starting even another business. So opening up more generational.
Opening a new location.
Totally. Like, goals stretch from, crazy. There's so many goals that people have, and so many things people get excited about. So not limiting it to just what we think is exciting, or what, the coach thinks is exciting or whatever, but it's very much about what your franchisee is super stoked about.
Aren't you excited now about KPIs? They are the best.
I actually am excited about KPI. I'm feeling inspired to look at my books. I'm feeling inspired to start tracking some more numbers. I am also a spreadsheet nerd, as we all know, but yeah, I am. I'm actually very stoked. I'm starting to think about things we could, do if, we brought up revenue by this much, and it's very exciting. I'm into it.
There you go. And now like, it is fun, but I do think, like, if there's one thing I would encourage franchisors is do this from,
get-go
vetting and onboarding, and because trying to train people once they're 5-10 years in is much harder than if you're training them from the first initial visit.
Yeah. What's that line? It's like the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is today, or something. That's how we want to think about KPIs.
Definitely.
For sure.
Definitely.
Well, Brecon, as always, this was an absolute pleasure. I learned so much. You are such a wealth of information. So thank you for coming on the podcast again. So appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure to be here, Belle. Thanks for having me back.
And for anyone who is interested in getting in touch with the team, joining one of our professional development roundtables, or getting some information on some fractional field coaching or some performance groups for your franchisees, getting support in implementing these kinds of systems, head to angelacote.com, fill in the contact form, and get on a call with one of our team members. We are always happy to chat, and there's so many opportunities to get involved and get support in these key areas. And that is it, everyone. Have a great rest of your week and go be awesome.